a Friday. Thank you very much for joining us here for the oil stream. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, feel free to tell your buddies how easy it is to consume what we are doing over here. So thank you very much for that. The oil stream is brought to you by Boston Pizza. Next Friday, we'll be on location at Boston Pizza.
Excellent.
And then on Monday, the 27th, we'll be on location at Boston Pizza. And tomorrow,
thank you.
Where will you be tomorrow?
Boston Pizza Westgate.
Boston
lots
Pizza
of great
Westgate.
Giveaways. Tony.
Curtis ain't messing around.
No, Curtis isn't messing around. Tony actually started getting into the text line.
Yes.
He's discovered the text line.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wait, does he have a handle yet?
He wrote Tony at
Tony.
BP. So I put Tony from BP.
Okay, all right, good,
Yeah.
good. Well, that's good. Welcome to the text line, Tony.
Yeah,
I like to turn my hat around backwards when I say Tony.
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 It was good because I think it was on a post game where he got in for the first time, and Tony's always thinking about like ways to improve the Oilers and this and that, and he threw a couple of things a little bit outside the box. And the first response I had to him was like, Tony, how many beverages have we had? And he said 8 rum and cokes.
That sounds good. I like that. Hey,
Trev knows he's laughing. He's
Tony,
like,
Tommy will see you on Satyana. Isn't it? Remember on Seinfeld when they're like, Mañana. With Tony. He made the sandwiches for Tony. Right? Am I thinking of the right character?
I think so.
Yeah. Are you not a big Seinfeld guy?
I am a big Seinfeld guy, but I don't remember that one specifically. Mañana.
Okay, we're going to play the entire 11 minutes from Evander Kane to get rolling here on the oil stream. Tell me what I should expect. I was doing lock shop when he had the availability.
Okay, I want people to draw their own conclusions, but I think there's a couple of things that we can safely assume now, and I think one of them is that the Oilers are going to have a lot of cap space to play with come deadline, unless he surprisingly comes back earlier, but this puts him back quite a bit.
It sounds like the timeline is impossible that he's going to come back before the playoffs.
And remember last week, I think you were here. We were talking about, or maybe it was earlier in the week. When
I wasn't here last year.
Nobody really knows what's going on or where he's at.
A mystery man.
And today's announcement of the surgery that he had on his knee, I think, completely brings that. Like, not that I'm discounting what I said. I said it because someone told me from the organization.
Yeah.
But I think it completely solidifies that. It's like...
So nobody really knows what's going on there.
Yeah, and then listen to what he says timeline-wise when the knee issue occurred. Because you go, oh, really?
Yeah.
Then why this happening now?
Oh, okay.
Just listen to that.
All right, Trev, let us know when it's ready. All right, Trev says he needs 20 seconds to get this bad boy ready. It was done on a Zoom call, essentially, with members of the media, and you guys were watching. So
very quickly, quick turnaround, and
it was a quick turnaround.
This we didn't.
This kind of came out of nowhere this morning from an availability perspective, didn't it?
Right.
Like, what time did the email come in that he was going to be available?
Text at like, what did we get it? 10:05.
Yeah, and I guess, just for a Zoom. I mean, if it was going to be actually down at the rink, it would be a little bit of a different story. But just for a Zoom, it's an hour or whatever. So, I mean, this guy would be a big piece of what they're trying to do. We already talked. What did you see yesterday or on Wednesday? They're soft.
Yep.
You described them as soft. This guy would be a guy you throw in the bottom 6, and all of a sudden that identity sort of changes a little bit. Best case scenario, he's going to be playing his first games of the season at some point early or mid playoffs, if at all. And we'll ask the question. I put it up on Twitter today. Let's listen to this. Then we'll get into the Evander Kane conversation here on the Oil Stream, brought to you by Boston Pizza. Here's Evander Kane's availability from earlier on today.
A bit of an update on, sort of what occurred here with the lower body issue in relation to your challenging rehab with the core issues.
I had a knee scope done yesterday. It was something that it kind of popped up a few weeks after I had my abdominal surgery, something that I had noticed. We finally got it looked at and found that there was something that needed to be removed in my knee. It wasn't any sort of repair work or major structural work that was done. So it should be a pretty quick recovery.
Thank you, Bob. We will go to Reed Wilkins. Go ahead, Reed.
Hey, Evander. just sort of, I'll just throw both of them at you here. How frustrating or how are you dealing with the mental side of not being able to play, and how confident are you that you will play games for the Edmonton Oilers this season? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to yesterday's surgery, to be honest, I'm not frustrated at all. I'm actually really happy that we were able to fix that and get me to 100%, so that when I do come back and play this year, I'm feeling 100%. And I know it might put a pause for a couple of weeks on my current rehab process, but it won't be very long. I think, the number that was out there was 4 to 8 weeks. And that's, getting back playing after a procedure like this. So in terms of rehabbing and training and continuing to feel better, that break is going to be very short.
Thank you, Reed. We'll go to Derek Van Diest of HL.com.
Hey, Evander, Derek here. I just wanted to ask you, how far along were you on your rehab process before this happened? Were you back on skates? Were you skating, or where were you in that process?
No, I haven't been on the ice yet. I think we were doing a great job with resting and letting things heal with my abdominal surgery. I think that was a big key, and has helped me feel as good as I do today. And that's one of the biggest reasons why is doing a lot of the work we were doing in the pool, some small exercises off the ice, and again, just letting the surgery do its thing and heal my body to the best of my ability. And again, that's why I feel so good today, which is really positive, and it gives me something to look forward to. And this knee procedure was more of something that we could manage and get that done, so that wouldn't affect me when I did come back, and then possibly have to miss the entire season. So, it was great to get this cleaned up, and I plan to be 100% and ready to go at some point this season.
Do you have a timeline when you might be able to start getting back on the ice and start skating again?
Start skating? Not exactly sure. I have a timeline in my head that I'm probably not going to share today, but I don't think that timeline's changed with this surgery.
Thanks, Evander.
No problem.
Thank you, Derek. We'll go to Daniel Nugent-Bowman of The Athletic.
I think I'm unmuted. Hi, Evander. Sorry, I just wanted to clear something up, because it sounded like you said the 4 to 8 weeks, that's when you might be able to start coming back. I just wanted to kind of clear up, will you have to kind of continue your previous rehab after those 4 to 8 weeks from the knee surgery?
Yeah, so sorry to clarify.
Right.
48 weeks is, let's say I didn't have abdominal surgery and I just had this procedure and I was playing. Yeah, that would be the timeline of when an NHL player could come back from this procedure within 4 to 8 weeks. If that makes sense. Yeah,
so then you have to keep going with the previous surgery, the previous rehabilitation from the last surgery. That's correct?
Yeah, I don't, like I said a few questions ago, I anticipate it, taking a week or two off from the norm of what I've been doing thus far and continuing, and then getting right back into it. So I don't think it's going to slow me down greatly or my timeline down greatly with this surgery.
And you did say you do anticipate playing this year. If you do, it'll be pretty late in the year. How challenging will that be to kind of get on a moving train? Do you anticipate as you head close to the end of the season and into the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've dealt with injuries in the past. I've dealt with coming off the couch and joining a brand new team in 2022. So I do have a little bit of experience like that with that. At the same time, I think I'll be in a much better situation coming back this time. Obviously feeling 100% healthy and in great shape and ready to rock. So whenever that time is, I'm looking forward to being a big contributor.
Thank you, Daniel. We'll go to Steve Sandor of the Canadian Press.
Thanks for doing this, Evander. Maybe just so far this season, how difficult has it been to watch games and to watch this team play. And yes, the team's going well right now, 18-4-1 over the last little bit. But how hard has it been to be on the sidelines?
It's never fun to not be playing and doing something that you've been doing for me now 16 years. So it's not easy to watch. At the same time, I think over the course of the summer and the off season, after having a devastating loss in the Stanley Cup final last year, and not being able to be a part of the end of the series, mentally I was kind of prepared to take the time I needed to get my body back to 100%. And that way, when I come back, I know I can be the player that everybody knows I am. And so from a mental aspect, that's kind of been my focus this entire time. And, as much as you want to be out there playing, which I definitely do, I knew the focus and the goal was to get myself back to 100%, so I can be the player that I know I can.
Thank you, Steve. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, to use the raised hand function. We'll go to Jason Gregor. Go ahead, Jason.
Evander, we've seen players come back from injuries, and depending on what it is, it impacts your timing, your hands, etc. For all the core stuff that you had done, what's the docs telling you is what's going to be the biggest challenge when you come back to NHL hockey from this recovery?
Well, I think, when it comes to the injury and what it affected the most last year, was skating through pain. Every time you take a stride, you feel like you're tearing about 4 or 5 different things. So, just walking around, just being able to lift your leg off the ground 6 inches, that was a struggle last year. So, as I sit here today, I could barely jog or run last year. So as I sit here today, I feel 1,000 times better. So I think skating will probably be the biggest indicator of how good I truly do feel once I get back on the ice. And, as I sit here today, I feel that, that is going to go really well once I do get back on the ice.
One of the key parts of your game is you need to be a good skater to be physical. You're obviously the most physical player that the Oilers have. It's an element that the team has missed. Do you notice that, and do you feel very confident that when you come back, if maybe your timing's not where you want hand-wise, that you can definitely be an impactful player with speed and physicality?
Yeah, I've always been a believer you're not going to score every single night, so you got to impact the game in different ways. That makes you, that can help you make the team effective, you effective each and every night. So at the same time, I think, when I do come back, based on what I went through last year, I feel confident that I can be the player that I know I can.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. We'll go to Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
Yeah, Evander. A big part of this, from a team perspective, of course, is cap space. It's always cap space in today's world. How important for you is it to get games in before the playoffs start? Like, how vital is it to get some regular season games in against the prospect of just joining the team on day one of the playoffs and trying to make that work?
To be honest, that time frame, from if I play a handful of games or 15 games before the end of the regular season, or I come back in the playoffs, I haven't really given much thought to that. My focus has been getting back to 100%. That's why I got that procedure done yesterday, so I could feel 100% when I get back, and there were no issues moving forward. Whenever I'm 100%, I will, I will make myself available and intend to play hockey. So we're not there today. I'm not exactly sure what date that will be, but what I can promise everybody is I'm doing everything I can to make sure that's as soon as possible.
You characterize the knee as, not as big a deal as the way you said it. It's not, you can get over this. Tell us about the abdominal thing. Abdominal injuries can be complicated, hard to come back from. It can be a big picture thing. How's that rehab gone? How much rehab left do you have?
Yeah, kind of touched on a little bit. That rehab's gone really well. I think, I'm a big believer based on some of the other procedures I've had and what I've learned over the past is rest and letting your body actually heal. before you really get into the nitty gritty, tough parts of rehab. And I think, we've done a good job of managing that line with rest and recovery and exercising. So we're going to continue to do that over the next couple of weeks. And I think really start to ramp up here pretty soon.
All right, so there you go. That's what Evander Kane had to say today. Let's make this your Popeyes headlines here, Trev, if you can throw up the Popeyes headlines. And if you're looking for a bite to eat and you want something spicy, head on over to Popeyes and they'll get you something delicious for lunch. All right, what do we take away from that 11 minutes?
I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
You were fresh ears on it. I was in on that press conference, so I was listening. Did you catch the timeline thing with the knee after the surgery?
Okay, so when did he have the abdominal surgery?
In September.
And then this happened 2 weeks after that.
Yes.
And it's January.
And he just had it cleaned.
So that, yeah.
It sounds like a scope, by the way.
Okay, so.
Yeah. Or, scope, I would say.
I don't know. If you felt it in September, you probably could have got it taken care of before January 10th, I guess. That's common sense. I don't know. Maybe there's a wait for the not the NHL players. These guys get in wherever they want to go when they need to.
Wait.
So yeah, that was that the timeline on this seems a little strange just because if it happened a couple weeks after his abdominal surgery and his abdominal surgery was in September and now it's early January. Yeah.
And this occurred
a
couple weeks after that abdominal surgery. You usually know fairly quickly to what extent that injury is. Do you have cartilage damage? Yes, no, slight. Is it meniscus? Yes, no. Is it something like chips getting in your knee or something like that? Bone spurs or something like that? Do we have to clean it out? You usually have an idea pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
is this something they had to wait 2 months to diagnose and then we're like, okay, go get a quick little surgery? Yeah, so it's just I'm
not a doctor. I just play one on TV, but I've had a knee surgery. I've had a scope, and they know pretty quickly.
To move that along.
Who just tore their ACL? Like they know right away. They know if it's your meniscus. They know if it's your MCL, ACL. Like so, the timing of it is very ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, you're not playing until the playoffs.
No.
Let's just say that, like, if he plays, it'll be in the playoffs. I would be stunned if this guy plays in the regular season. As stunned as I was that his shirt was the exact same color as the background. Like, not like a little bit different. It was the exact same color.
Yes.
Who has a shirt that is now look, obviously somebody who's very stylish because Evander Kane is extremely stylish.
He is. He actually dresses incredible.
Oh yeah, it's insane how well he's a well dressed man.
Yeah.
But who has a sweater that's the exact same color as a green shade in their house? That's that blew me away. The other thing is the whole timeline of the recovery thing's interesting because he said it's 4 to 8 weeks usually for this, but he said this would only set his other training back 1 to 2 weeks at one point in there. I made a note of it.
Yeah.
Because he said, this is going to kind of delay me 1 to 2 weeks on the other stuff. But this is so to me, it sounds like for the second half of this, he'll be still rehabbing both. Like I don't think you have to wait 4 to 8 weeks to get back on the other one when he said it was only going to keep him about 1 to 2 weeks behind.
4 to 8.
So I don't know.
I was going through the calendar. It takes him 4 to 8. Let's say it's worst case scenario. It's the full 8. But he heals well. He's in fine shape. If it's the full 8 on the knee, that's mid-March. That's past the second week of March. Because we were ballparking, Chris Knobloch said we wouldn't hear more until a month from now, and that was mid-December. I guess we're kind of at mid-January, and now we're hearing he just had knee surgery. I'm assuming there's still a month and a half of the original abdominal recovery.
That's what you would think. But when he said it would only be like 1 to 2 weeks
more
delayed,
like
I made a note here, 1 to 2 weeks off the original timeline.
I think this is taking him right to the playoffs. I think.
100%.
My gut says we're looking at a Mark Stone.
I've said on this show 9 times that I was told by somebody high up in the organization at the Hlinka that they're like playoffs. It's playoffs.
Yeah.
And now it's just it's going to be playoffs.
Yeah.
So all right, so there you go. That's the latest from Evander Kane on Evander Kane. And I guess we probably don't hear or see from him again until he gets on the ice to practice at some point. And he said he has not been on the ice.
Not been on the ice
at all.
Not at all. Another thing, too, when guys are hurt, you still see them around the rink usually. And Chris Knobloch last month, I'll remind people, he said that there is a recovery program in place. You heard Evander talking about being in the pool. And they do have small pools, I think, for recovery. And they have a hot tub and stuff, too, in the new locker room. So I'm assuming that's part of his program when he's coming in for his rehabilitation on the abdominal surgery. But outside of that, like, there was a lot of things said, but nothing that really gave you a very clear picture, right?
No, not really. Like, I'm just tweeting out, how does today's Kane news impact the deadline for the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, and this is a positive thing. Because we're anticipating here on Oil Stream, this likely means he's not playing the regular season. Because even when Speck asked about, like, do you want to play a few games in the regular, he said, I'll go when my body, when I'm 100%, blah, blah, blah. I feel like, I'm on track. That's a non-answer, right? He's not giving it. He's like, I have a timeline in my head. Great. But the way you foresee things go on, how your body reacts, you have no setbacks, maybe you get back a little bit earlier, and then how things actually end up happening, what doctors and medical staff say could be two different ideas, concepts, and ultimately results. It just feels like this is headed towards him not playing until playoffs, which would open up a lot of money for the Oilers. And again, in a conversation that I had with some people on the hockey ops side last week, I was told, if Evander cannot play in the regular season, all of a sudden they have a lot of money to play with and can be much more aggressive in getting a better, higher impact defenseman. So,
but they need to know before the deadline if Evander Kane's going to say, hey, it's game 80. I'd like to play for a couple games. He's not playing till the playoffs.
I don't think so either.
There's no way he's playing before the playoffs. I think they should plan that way. I think they should go and do whatever they have to at the deadline to load up.
And maybe this is finally a bit of a answer to, like, when is he coming back? Well, guess what? He needed knee surgery. He waited to now.
Some people said they were wondering if he needed to get to a certain point in rehab, the first one, to go get the knee surgery.
Again, I'm not Jason Strudwick, MD.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. Like, my guess is you probably could have done the knee surgery during this time period.
All right, 780-218-9999 is where you can chime in, and we'll get to a bunch of your messages. Lots of text messages flying in here as well, so let's get to a few of these. Andrew says, guys, is there a chance that Kane delayed this surgery because the Oilers said if you do this, we won't trade you, and Kane is just playing ball with the Oil right now?
I think he is playing ball with the Oil. I don't know if that's the exact scenario, but again, last offseason, last playoffs, certainly times last regular season, and now without being told to my face, hey, we're not sure what he's doing, I get the sense that there is a little bit of gamesmanship between his camp and the team. To what extent, I don't know, but I have a pretty good idea that there is some of that, and it's deliberate.
780-218-9999. Waddy in Cloverdale says, Evander Kane is like my 2011 Jetta. Fix one thing, and the next week, something else pops up. Like, he's trying to get everything taken care of here so he can come back and resume his NHL career.
That's excellent. Good.
Chris Sadaway says, guys, do the Oilers need a middle six winger now? Taylor Hall is number 12 on the TSN trade board list.
Don't expect Taylor Hall to come back.
That is a fun text to read, though.
I know.
780-218-9999. Here's the other thing. and RJ asked this question. I had it on my list of things to discuss here. The problem is, won't Kane be useless if he's out for this long and comes back for the playoffs?
Maybe, but he did make the comment that he has come off the couch before.
Yeah, but this is double surgery.
I know.
Like, that's got to be a little bit different than some of the other stuff.
And he said it was when he came to Edmonton, when he came off the couch. And he was playing for the San Jose Barracuda at the time.
Yeah.
Before a suspension. I think this is a little bit different. Dusty, like, maybe some clearer picture, but not much of a clearer picture.
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that he had to have this other surgery kind of came right out. It kind of muddied the waters a little bit.
Now we know he's out for at least another month to 2 months, on top of finishing up the recovery.
I mean, I would just, like, Evander Kane has played in this league for how long now? I mean, he's been around for a long time.
Since like 08, 09.
Yeah, he's been around for, I think he was drafted in 04. And didn't he step in, like, right away? When was he drafted?
I think he was in 07.
Was he 07? Yeah, when he wouldn't have been 04. He was 4th overall. That's my bad. I was getting that
K. Gill
up.
says, Tommy, don't break our hearts. I'm not trying to break any hearts. I'm just trying to be realistic about this. I'm not here to poo-poo dash dreams.
Oh, he drafted in
09. 09, yeah. And I think he did jump.
But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, I would just say to the guy, like, if you're going to need 8 weeks, like, even to get all of it done, like, even if you're fully rehabbed in 8 weeks, I'd be like, hey, man, skate for 2 or 3 weeks, do us a solid, come back and play. Evander Kane doesn't need 3 regular season games at this stage of his career to make sure he's on point for his playoffs, where if he doesn't get those games, you can go out and spend more money. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me that he would play before the playoffs. Like, it makes no sense to me from an organizational perspective that Evander Kane would play before the playoffs. I just don't see a situation where that actually happens. So you should plan as an organization to make the most of whatever you possibly can. And if he can return for the playoffs, he can return for the playoffs, and that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Big time bonus.
Oh, K. Gill says that's in regard to Taylor Hall. Do you really want Taylor Hall back?
Some people would always take him back here. Yeah,
I know.
Some people would always take him back.
I know a guy that really likes him a lot. Do you know, honestly, before they signed Hyman, they were considering Taylor Hall. And I talked about it, I think, at our old station. And when this show was just a podcast,
God, why?
I don't know. And I don't.
When Hyman was like the perfect fit, you know? Like,
and it has been.
Yeah.
Just a side note. This is an aside that I don't understand the infatuation with bringing guys back that have kind of run their course here, have been here. And there's always a few people who are like, oh, bring him back. It's like, why?
There's always that soft spot for Jordan Everly kicking around. You know?
I know. Jordan Everly, great guy. I like Taylor too. I got along really well with him, but I think it's super highly unlikely. But there was that time when they were trying to get Hyman. Hall was in consideration. That is legit. Jared says, what's Magnus Pajärvi up to? That's a great question, Jared.
Hey, quick Magnus Pajärvi story. Kids had power skating last night, and one of the kids in Muzz's power skating class was wearing a Magnus Pajärvi Oilers jersey.
Great guy.
Yeah, I wanted to go and find his dad or mom and shake their hand. Like, you're raising a good one.
Yeah.
You're raising a good one.
Hey, Jesse Puljujarvi with the assist last night.
He did have an assist last night, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
We haven't really got to that game just yet. Guys, if Kane is ready to go for game 1 of the playoffs, the NHL will say it violates the spirit of the rule, and the Oilers will owe the Flames a first-round pick.
Well played.
Martin says, guys, can the Oilers send Kane to the AHL for a conditioning stint before the playoffs to get games in? Is there something in the CBA that would allow that? The player would have to agree to that, right? Is that not how that works?
Yeah, and I think you get like a 2-week conditioning window. I think there is something that, the player has to agree, and you get like a 2-week grace period where you can do that.
Juan is asking, do they use the cap space quicker than waiting till the deadline, do you think? Or they just continue to accrue as much as they can before the deadline?
I think it'd be great. Well, first of all, I think they would need even more concrete evidence that Evander is not coming back during the season.
to make an earlier move.
And I think there is still kind of that, like, are you where you at? Are you coming back? Do we know for sure? Can we spend that money? And then he could totally screw them over if he's like, I'm ready. And it's like second week of April and they only have 5 games left.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. All you're doing is screwing the team over.
I hope he wouldn't do that. I don't think he would do that. But
play when it comes playoff time. Okay, so what about a theory of he comes back for the playoffs, pots a couple of goals, they find some value there, and then they ship him in the offseason somewhere else? Do you think?
I think that's very likely.
We were talking about it around the office. The question was asked. You know what? Let's use this for Keep It or Clip It to get us started on Keep It or Clip It today for Tommy Guns. If you're looking for a good haircut, Tommy Guns has you covered. At Tommy Guns Original Barbershop, they believe a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. Nobody wants the quickie. It's about the whole experience. That's why they follow the code. A commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every time you visit. From check-in to the finishing touch, every single step is crafted with care, and it looks awesome in there. No appointments needed. Just walk in, relax, sit back, and they will take it from there at Tommy Guns. Keep it or clip it. Evander Kane never plays for the Edmonton Oilers again.
I'll clip it. I think he'll play.
What percentage? Let's do percentage on here.
He never plays.
Let's say what would be the percentage that he never plays a game again for the Oilers?
40%.
40%. See, that's a pretty high percent.
I know because it's such so much ambiguity to everything that's happened over the last 8 months. Oh, he's in the community.
I don't think 40% is crazy.
I love that he does that.
He's been great around the community.
But what's he doing with the team?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him around the rink. We don't see him around the rink. That's what I was getting to. The guys that are rehabbing.
Could he be there rehabbing and stuff?
You usually see them around. I have not seen him once.
Yeah. I guess rehabbing somewhere else. But then what's the relationship?
He's been doing it, which is good.
Yeah.
I would put it at 40%.
40% chance that he doesn't play for the Oilers again.
What do you think?
I mean, I would clip it. I think he'll play in the playoffs at some point. But I don't know what the percent. I'd rather trust your knowledge on that one with the percentage of him.
I think he comes back for the playoffs.
All right. What about this one? If Evander Kane doesn't return, the Oilers need to trade for a forward. Like if you know you're not going to get him until maybe the playoffs, do you go out and acquire a forward?
Well, that's you get his cap space too, so that opens up more options. But the priority still remains improving the defense. Once you do that, you could add another forward. The forwards are not the issue. The type of forwards, the way they play, physical or lack of physicality, they would need to add some sandpaper. I think that would need to be addressed. Evander Kane, the player, is exactly what this forward group needs.
Evander Kane, a healthy player who's had played a bit. If he's not if he comes back and plays in the playoffs and he's not effective in the playoffs, should we really be surprised? I'd be more surprised that he was effective in the playoffs when he hasn't played any hockey for a year.
Yeah.
He's totally fresh. That's great.
Yeah,
but there's a difference between totally fresh and coming off multiple surgeries and having not played. Yeah. Ask Connor Brown about it. How long did it take Connor Brown to play effective hockey again?
Year.
Right? And he says it was the injury. I mean, and we're seeing it.
Yeah.
It was the injury. So we should just expect Evander Kane to step into the lineup and be effective again. I don't know if I wouldn't even hold him to those standards. I would expect very little from a guy who's been through what he's been through. All right. Marcus Pettersson should be the Oilers' #1 target on the blue line. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. Get somebody better than that. Sorry.
People like him.
That's great.
People like him.
People get infatuated with certain players all the time.
They get infatuated with guys who are available or who might be available,
exactly.
Right?
I would try to find someone better, especially if you have all this cap space now. I think you could get a better defenseman that isn't a left shot guy playing the right side.
So it's Trouba.
Oh, you're going to put Noodles on the screen. You're going to do exactly what Noodles said not to.
This is what Noodles has done. Noodles has said he would think that Trouba would be a very good fit for the Edmonton Oilers.
I agree, but
we already
there's a lot of hurdles there for that to become a reality.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me ask you this one. I think I know where you're going on this one then. David Savard will be enough for the Oilers at the deadline.
Clip it.
If that's their acquisition at the deadline, how would you summarize the deadline? Underwhelming?
Underwhelming. Yeah, not enough. Now, Pagnotta has been on this for a long time, and he has been talking about it on Hello Hockey. And he reminds people that Savard for the Lightning was exactly what they needed to win a Stanley Cup. That was a few years ago. It's coming up on 4 years. But I would still want somebody better than that. No disrespect to David Savard.
Okay, so let me throw this out there to you. If not to you, but to people listening, or if you're watching over on YouTube right now, Tommy thinks they should get somebody better than Pettersson. Who is that? Who do you think that should be?
Yeah.
780-218-9999 or hit us up over in the nasty chat as well.
Amish Man says things changed a lot in 4 years. I agree. And he's not getting any younger. The Rasmus Anderson thing, who was it that was on yesterday that was like, throw that out the window? The Flames would never, ever
Was it
do
Huss
that.
on the Lock Shop?
That was Huss.
I think we were talking about it on the Lock Shop yesterday.
Huss was laughing. He had a laugh as he was saying it, and he was kind of right. It was harsh, but he's like, there's no way in hell the Flames would do the Oilers a solid. And that includes in a three-way trade if they knew that the end result is Anderson comes here.
That's Keep It or Clip It for Tommy Guns. If you're looking for a new haircut experience, you won't find a better one than the one that they're offering up at Tommy Guns. I watched the Pierre LeBrun insider trading thing yesterday, and it was 4 minutes. And look, I know these guys who have to do these weekly segments with TSN got to come up with something. Mm-hmm. And Pierre was talking about how the Oilers kind of had their meetings maybe a little bit earlier because
just
of Four
wrapped them
Nations.
up.
He said they had them.
They were in Boston from the 5th to the 9th.
In Boston, eh?
Yeah, because they tagged up with the team.
Oh, and then just hung out in Boston.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not bad. So they would have just wrapped up yesterday.
Yes.
Anyway, he basically, I love insiders, and I'm not throwing shade at Pierre because they have to somehow find something newsworthy when they're said, "Hey, you got 4 minutes on the Oil.
You got to fill."
And he basically filled in and said they're casting a wide net on the blue line, which could be offensive or defensive, left shot or right shot. And I was just like, oh man,
where have we heard that before?
Well, I mean, no, it's an imaginary world. He also is going to be over 19, under 40, and
somewhere between 6'1" and 6'7".
Well, I'm going to say 5'8" and 6'7".
Wide net,
and he's going to come from either Sweden, Finland, Canada, the United States, Russia, or Germany. That's what I'll say.
Oh, Germany, but no Czech.
Yeah, I mean. Everybody's casting a wide net on everything right now, I would think.
Yeah. What is...
But I don't desire to be in those guys' spots where they're like, can you please come up with something? And something you come up with is wide net.
Yeah.
Because they're not giving you anything else. I felt bad for the poor guy.
It's an enviable task. And
that's a tough one.
That's one where you just got to talk it out. How many teams and how many times do we talk to our friends and peers and colleagues who are reporters covering other teams in this league, and when we ask them about the need for their team that they cover, we hear right shot defenseman.
Buddy, a right shot defenseman along with a right shot center are the two hottest commodities at every trade deadline for the last 20 years.
And it will remain that way.
That's how it is. If you have a right shot center, you can get a bounty for him. And if you have a right shot defenseman, you can basically have somebody write you a blank check of assets because somebody's going to want them a little bit more than somebody else because they don't want that other guy to get them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's going to go down. It's the same thing every single year. Right? So, of course, they want a right shot D-man. Every single team in the playoffs, even some of those, like all those teams that are buying or are fighting for that one playoff spot in the East.
Yep.
Some of them should be selling. Some of them should be, but they'd all take a right shot D-man. Those are hard to come by.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what that's what everybody wants.
Look at what Edmonton has done this year with their right shot D-men. They hung on to Troy Stetcher. They extended a contract, a 3-year deal to Josh Brown. He's up here now. That's good. Obviously, they've turned Emberson into a full-time NHL player, and he's becoming a good news story for them quietly. They went out on a limb.
He has 5 points and is a minus player. I don't know if he's that much of a good news story.
Progress.
But I mean, I like him. Actually,
though.
like the eye test for me is better than what the numbers say.
He's
so
played,
I will
70
say that.
NHL games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the Oilers went out and they sniped Alec Regula, he of 22 NHL games played, from Boston as he is rehabbing a knee injury. Boston obviously had a plan in place for him. They did not anticipate the guy that drafted him plucking him off of waivers and disrupting Boston's plan for him because he's a big right shot defenseman that might have potential. And it's like mining for gold. You're hoping for the best. But the commodity that is the right shot defenseman is so sought after right now that we're seeing an Oilers team take a guy in Emberson who only had 30 games under his belt and pick a guy like Regula and go, we might be able to turn these guys into something.
And yet they're still dressing Josh Brown.
And they're dressing Josh Brown. And they have Troy Stetcher.
They need to go and get another right shot D-man somewhere out there. All right, here, this is what I was waiting for. Puckpedia has just tweeted out what they have to say about Evander Kane. Okay, so it's a long one, but this is what people want right now. So here's what Puckpedia has to say. If Kane is out for the rest of the regular season, the Oilers can exceed the cap by $5.1 million because they already set their LTIR pool at the start of the year with Kane on LTIR. They won't be able to effectively add accrued cap space plus use LTIR pool. So it's one or the other.
Okay.
Their roster right now has an annual cap hit of 88.05. If they use LTIR, they can go up to 93.1 million, meaning they can add 5.05 million annual cap hit compared to the roster right now.
And that's a big difference when you're trying to go big game hunting.
At the deadline without LTIR, they can add a $1 million of annual cap hit and still be under the cap. But if they do that, the annual cap hit is 89 million, leaving only 93.1 minus the 89, which is 4.1 million available to add if they use the LTIR. So the most they can add, even with Kane on the LTIR, is 5.1 million total more annual cap hit on the current roster.
Right.
Had they waited to add Kane to the LTIR, they could have accrued cap space to add to the cap hit and then added Kane to the LTIR after, and then had another 5.1 million available to add. Wait, what?
You saying they would have like 10 million? That doesn't make sense.
I didn't think Kane was on the LTIR to start
No, they
the year.
put him on LTIR. Because every time I'm reading the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy injury report,
This has just confused me more. Yeah, it does say he's on there.
I have to say LTIR, and I remind myself he is on LTIR. I had to go double check that.
Very confused by this. I'm going to text Hart.
Text Hart.
I'm going to text Hart here and see if
he'd be good to get on.
They would have. What game are you guys playing? I have to know. NHL. Oh, NHL. Okay, I thought it was.
Hernan's really into NHL 94, and I saw Trev playing it earlier. How about Brendan settling right in?
Yeah, nice kid. Okay, so I'm just saying. So would the Oilers have 10.2 if they
is that what that ultimately
changed
said?
The timing of Kane on LTR? Because I'm confused by this. Let's just see what that's Hart from Puckpedia.
Buster says Edmonton actually announced it on Twitter, and that's what I took. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure they put him on LTIR. I had to go back and look, and I saw the tweet.
Brett B says they set it up so they maximize the LTIR space they could use. Well, that's why the Puckpedia tweet it's confusing me a little bit. Am I reading this incorrectly? Had they waited to add Kane to the LTIR, they could have used accrued cap to add cap hit, and then added Kane to the LTIR and had another fight. Also, see, to me, what it sounds like is if they could have used the accrued cap space, they could have added a player and then taken Kane and put him on the LTIR and used his 5.1 on top of that.
But is that if that's the case, is that scenario not an indicator that they weren't sure when, if to what extent Evander Kane would be available to them at some point.
So they couldn't really do that anyway because yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what he hopefully gets back to me by the end of the show.
Makes the case for they didn't know where he was at, and we're 3.5 months into the season or whatever, and they were still waiting to figure out like what's going on with this guy. Then he's got this knee issue. Today they announced that he had surgery yesterday. Like one big question mark. All I'm getting out of it. They don't know. They don't know. How is he doing? How's the rehabilitation going? Is he on track? Is he ahead of schedule? Oh, he's got a knee issue now. How long is that going to take? When is he going to get it fixed? Is he going to try to fix it, heal it naturally? Is he going to go get surgery? Does he need surgery? Like, so many question marks.
I like this. Max Bazuzu says, texting Puckpedia is like calling a friend who wants to be a millionaire. And then Amishman19 replies and says, except the friend, 99% knows the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to know the answer.
Yeah.
And he's going to say, he's going to explain it to me. Oh, here we go. He got back to me.
All right, what did he say?
Okay, he goes, not that much. Because I said, wait a second, I'm confused by your tweet. The Oilers have 10.2 of the timing of Kane on the LTIR chance. He goes, not by that much. But if they'd waited to put him on LTIR, depending on how much they'd accrued, they're tracking to be able to add about $2 million annual cap hit at the deadline, assuming they drop Brown back down in a bit. And they could have added the $2 million at the deadline and then put Kane on LTIR and added 5 more.
So it's 7.
Yeah, so it could have been about 7 instead of the 5.1 that they're looking at right now.
And I'm sure they knew that, but again, not knowing Evander's situation.
That's the thing. He probably kind of left him in limbo.
They couldn't risk that.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Man, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a huge hit back in the day. Remember that?
Was great. Yes, I do.
God. Okay, so, but since he's already on LTIR, they don't get both. It's just his 5.1 compared to now. So with Brown down, it'll be about 5.9. So with Brown down, they'll have about 5.9 million in a cap at like in the actual salary that they can add at the deadline.
Okay.
And it would have been about 7. So I missed out on about $1 million, I think, is what this is saying.
So they could have squeezed out another $1
million if they would have known like the exact sort of timeline.
You would have to have certainty on that timeline. And I think it's abundantly clear they weren't sure.
All right.
I think that has become what we do know. Senor Hontorio Momes says, what are you guys complaining about? This is great news. That means it gets you this cap space and you'll come back for playoffs. We're finally getting our Kucherov moment.
Yeah, this is a Kucherov and Stone moment. I mean, that's exactly what this is. So, yeah, it's going to be good. Yeah. Trev, you out of here? Remember to throw Johnston up. Be a juicy one. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye, Trevor.
There you go. There goes YouTube Trev off for the weekend.
The mustachio.
Yeah, he's a tired guy. Didn't sleep well last night.
Oh, no.
Didn't get much sleep last night.
Oh.
How about you?
I'm well rested.
I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. Oh, man, I was planning on this Evander Kane thing kind of a note because I was planning on having a big discussion about when to go nuclear and when to not. Because I didn't necessarily love it. Like,
I didn't love it either.
It was fun to watch. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Those guys are buzzing. It's fun. Oilers fans are like, they got a chance, and they did have a chance. They very well could have tied that game. I mean, they had some glorious looks, and the Djokovic was great.
The power play they couldn't score.
Yeah, the power play.
There, yeah.
But I would have rather, like, it's January 10th. It's not like it's Vegas or the Kings, and you're desperately trying to win in regulation and have a 4-point swing. I think I would have rather have seen the team not play 27 minutes with Draisaitl, McDavid. Like, nobody outside of Arvidsson played more than 14 minutes outside of the top 4 guys who play power play. So I think I would have liked to have seen them go down a different way for the betterment of the team. You know, like see if the lines that you've been playing with so well over the last 20 games maybe they can dig you out. So later in the season or in the playoffs that, hey, actually, you know what? Don't technically have to load up because these guys have had the experience of coming back as a group as opposed to 8 dudes sitting on the bench watching 5 guys play the rest of the game trying to get you back in. I'm not anti-nuclear option, but I just didn't like it yesterday.
That scenario wasn't good. And they totally did it to themselves with some really, really bad defensive zone play in that first period. I hate being right. My instinct was correct that would be the game that they kind of piss away. If it makes Oilers fans feel better, the Islanders go into T-Mobile Arena and shut out the Golden Knights 4-0, so they didn't lose any ground to Vegas.
Yeah.
LA plays today. Obviously,
in Winnipeg, that would be a tough.
Yeah. So that's not going to be easy. So maybe, you get a break here. And then last night, one of the themes was the Oilers pissing away points against lower competition. And that's completely valid. But then Hernan made a great point. He said, other teams do it too. I pointed out the Golden Knights to Montreal a couple of weeks ago where they were up 2-0, and then Montreal stormed back with 3 in a row in regulation and won that game. And then last night, the Islanders beat them 4-0. So, it happens even to the best team in the league. Happens to the Oilers. One other thing, Zach Hyman now owns the Hamilton Bulldogs. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, he bought the Hamilton Bulldogs from Michael Andlauer.
Really?
Yep.
Man, Hyman's going to be a business wizard, eh? Well, he already is. But imagine him post-career. What's that guy going to get up to?
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
He could write children's books. He could golf all he wants. He could just be a dad.
Owns a video game team.
Owns a video, an E-team.
If anybody, and he gets to play with Connor McDavid. Like, if anybody's living the dream, man, it's Zach Hyman.
I feel like
outside of his face being smashed by a puck.
I know. Poor guy. But I feel like the money he's making, he is somehow investing in the right things, and will be wealthier from his investments and business ventures than he was from the money he made from the NHL. Now he'll use that money from the NHL to create that added wealth, but I think he's going to somehow find a way to make way more money through his business ventures than he did in his NHL career, which is very impressive because he's made a pretty good living in the National Hockey League. Well done.
EST Afternoons is coming up. They're going to have Brian Diardo on to talk some NFL, and DVD is going to join them to probably talk about the Evander Kane situation. So join Tommy tomorrow. Boston Pizza, which one?
Westgate
location. Hello. Boston Pizza, Westgate location for pre- and post-game coverage as the Edmonton Oilers wrap up this road trip before coming home briefly and going on another road trip. But you can join Tommy tomorrow. Pre-game gets rolling at 4 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
All right, that'll be a good time at Boston Pizza tomorrow. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream today. For Tommy, I'm Dusty. I'll talk to you on Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Take it easy.